Hi, everyone. Hi, Cara. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am honored to have you here. And let me introduce Cara. In case you have not heard of the Cara that we know, Cara is a spiritual teacher, intuitive therapist, and a soul friend, which is true. She sees behind the mind and shows you your soul and her soul. Cara helps people of all ages overcome challenges or stressful situations, friendships, or events so they can take action in alignment with their soul with confidence to help see you see. I think I wrote that down wrong. Clearly in the direction to take. Thanks, Cara. I think there must be something purposeful of the word see that I wrote it twice.
Right?
Okay, so that's a snippet of you. In the show notes, I'm going to write everything about your bio and where they can find you and everything. And I'll get you to remind everyone at the end. But thanks again. And
Yeah.
we are here to talk about finding your blessings in life or business. And I feel very passionate about this topic because the world is making a lot of noise and a lot of distractions. And I was finding myself getting sidelined. So after some massive things happening in my life, I realized finding our true blessings that we have in every moment and every day, I think that's actually going to propel us in life. So I just want to have a conversation with you on, have you had what was your biggest failure? It doesn't have to be the biggest failure, but I'm sure we've all had failures because our successes actually come from our failures. Can
Mm-hmm.
you share with us some of your failures in
Mm-hmm.
business or life that you can share?
Yeah, like I don't know, it's interesting because failure to me is also like a little bit of is that even true? Like is that even uh, is that real? And it's like there are times when we're in it that it definitely feels like a failure, or it's our mind that's saying that I've not good enough, or I didn't achieve what I was looking to achieve, or just all those aspects of what we define as failure. um but when I kind of looked at that, like when you were kind of asking to do this podcast, I was looking at it from the sense of where were areas that I limited myself,
I like that.
because where I was in when I was in failure, I don't think I fully recognized that I was in failure. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like this element of you were just constantly, in a sense, trying to do better. And it's like, why better? Like what am I trying to achieve here? And so I reflected back on some of those failures, and one that kind of came up that I thought was an interesting one for, maybe some of your viewers may appreciate this, because when we all awaken into, our spiritual self and awaken to our intuition and our psychicness and our mediumship and all of that, we can kind of start to question ourselves, and we don't feel as though we're good enough, or, areas of, um, that wasn't right, or it was wrong or right. And so my failure that I was going to look at was kind of an area of what I thought was like right and wrong. Okay.
Yes.
So I was doing readings, and this was quite some time ago when I first kind of started doing card readings, and I was doing card readings, and I did them over the phone. And I remember this one client. coming in, and she wanted a reading about moving. And when I was doing the reading, everything was coming up around her children. Nothing about moving, like nothing. And so then internally, I'm sitting there in that reading. I know there's a truth here. I understand that, but I'm still kind of feeling like there's a little bit of an essence of failure, right? Like there's a little bit of essence, like, why can't I give her this information? Right.
Right.
And then, but in the background, in your soul self, you're like, no, no, like just keep going, right? Like just kind of keep going. And then my soul self is telling me, like, just trust, just trust, just trust. And this is that difference of failure versus surfing the wave, right? Like just kind of
Right.
like allowing yourself to be in what your mind is saying is failure, but maybe the moment is telling you that there's a blessing within it, right? So in
Exactly.
here, it's like I kept going, and I'm like, and I could tell she was not happy, about what was coming up in the reading. And I was just like, this is all I can present. I can only present what I'm being given. I cannot make something up. I cannot,
Good for you.
do this. I had to stay true to me. But afterwards, when we hung up the phone, I was like, there was a part of me, like I trusted what was coming through. But then there was that essence, that little mind, that little ego in there
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of going, maybe you shouldn't be doing readings. Maybe you shouldn't, like, all of these things, right? Like those elements but yet inside of me, it was just like, no, no. So there's like this internal battle.
I hear
And
you.
so the blessing in it, though, was after that, I just said, okay, guides, okay, angels, if she follows this guidance, when is she going to sell the house? Like we had already hung up the phone, and they gave me a date. And so I texted her and I just said, listen, I understand that this wasn't the reading you were looking for, but your angels have said, if you follow the guidance that was gifted today, then this will be when you sell your house. Well, I was actually on the friends with her on Facebook. And so I actually saw her postings over the next couple of weeks. And sure enough, there was a lot of postings about her children. And
Mm,
anywho, to like whatever short amount of time after, she posted she sold the house. Right. So I
that's
was like,
neat.
and it's not that I needed that external validation. That's not what it was about. But the universe shows you these blessings, right? Like when you can't see
Yes.
them, like when you can't fully see them because you're in that hurt, or you're in that I'm less than, or I'm not good enough, or failure, or whatever, right?
I think you hit the nail on the head. Failure is just a word. Us as human beings have attached the feeling of
Mm-hmm.
judgment, uh, ego, mostly judgment,
Yeah.
because in whose eyes
Right.
is it a failure? And
Yeah.
most of the time, it's ourselves
Mm-hmm.
judging what we did in comparison to others that it's failure. But
Yeah.
really, is it failure? Like it's
Yeah.
to open your business. Did you just go, oh, boom, there it is?
No,
No, you
no.
had to sort of stumble and fall,
Mm-hmm.
but we classify them as failures. But
Yeah.
no, I think failure is
Well, and that's the other
it's a
aspect, like
strong
leaving,
word.
like people could look at it as failure, like in the sense of, when I left engineering and opened up Anam Cara, right? Like when I opened up my business, my vision was that I was going to be, maybe the next Wayne Dyer, or open up a school for children, like a free school in free spirit in a sense. And those are still within me, but that aspect was behind the scene inside of me was, you're going to make as much as you did in engineering in your spiritual business. And so you could look at that in a comparison. I think that's the big one there, Sheena. When you said the word comparison, it really, resonated there. It's like, in comparison to what? It's like whenever we're comparing, there usually is a lens of failure because
Isn't it?
it's something's good and something's not good, right?
Right. And where does that come from?
Yeah, and generally it's
Right.
past conditioning or
Exactly.
outside of us or our own insecurities of not seeing the greatness within ourselves. And that's where it's like those blessings come into play. So like I could gather all the evidence that I failed in and am Cara your soul friend. I could totally gather all that evidence based on the old version of me as an engineer,
Bingo.
right? But it's like, but when I look at it, it's like, but all of these things, like I had so many blessings occur because of that. I was
Isn't it?
able to open up Heart Wild Adventures. I was able to go hiking. I was able to be there with my children when they were through their school years. I was like, there were so many things that I could be grateful for, and there was a lot of blessings in it. But if I had known that before, like when I was leaving engineering, that, oh, Cara, you're not going to make that money.
Yeah,
I would never have left engineering.
exactly.
Right. And those are those blessings that we don't see, like it's like we don't see them ahead of time. It's like trusting
Mm,
the guidance of your heart. And then within that, each moment has the opportunity to present a blessing. And I always see it as being an opportunist,
yeah.
rather than a pessimist, or, because we can always gather evidence of why it's not good enough. We can also gather all the evidence of why it's been so amazing.
Exactly. I know a lot of conditioning has gone through there, especially at my age. Like I've
Yeah.
been, I'm not going to call it stripping. I have been acknowledging because they're part of who I am. I can never get rid of it. But the deep gratitude, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's gotten stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where courage has now taken over.
Yeah.
Here we are, courage.
Yeah.
And oh, yeah, I could go on forever. But so what your biggest blessing right in your life right now?
Um, I think right now the blessing that came from opening Anam Carry Your Soul Friend, I think what has happened there is I've been able to expand more into life, like more in engineering. I was always kind of a mentor in a sense, right? With engineering, but there was like, for a lack of a better way of saying it, it was conditioned in the engineering world, in that
Mm-hmm.
environment. And so opening up my own business, being able to kind of broaden that perspective to life, not just business, like life itself. I think that's been my greatest blessing because it's opened me up to seeing every avenue of my life as a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Where in
Oh,
engineering, I was kind of finding like I, I liked things, don't get me wrong, I liked things, but it wasn't expansive. And on that, I think what happened, I'm going to backtrack here. And yeah, because I'm just hearing some info to share. So I'm going to,
sure.
is when you ask, what is my biggest blessing? This may shock you, or some people. I would say my biggest blessing is the fact that my sister passed away.
That does not shock me.
And, you know, do I miss her? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't wish like death upon anybody. It's inevitable, but I don't wish that upon anybody. There's a physical grievance in there for sure. However, with her passing, my biggest blessing occurred. And I find a lot of times it's in trauma. Does it have to be trauma? No, but we do as humans, we tend to listen when trauma occurs. And when she passed, that is what opened me up to me, to this
Mm,
whole, the whole aspect of spirituality and the meaning of life. And I would not have had that occur if I didn't have that deep hurt in my heart. Like it was like, but I look at it, instead of saying this is the blessing too, looking and perspective, my heart wasn't broken. I didn't break my heart. My heart didn't break. It cracked open.
Oh my God. Thank you for that message.
Right?
Because I needed to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. That brings tears. And it's true because it is cracking
Oh,
open. Right?
oh my God. It is so true.
Yeah,
Oh
because
my God.
we're able to experience the blessings and the gratitudes, and it's like everything becomes more visible, more I don't know, just valuable, I guess.
Yes. And that's why I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
my God.
Yeah. And you would feel that, this is, we can, like, this is another type of trauma, right? Like it's a transition. Any kind of transition can be classified as a trauma. And in that, like having, your billet kids move on, like that's a transition. It's no different than, somebody transitioning what we call empty nest, or somebody transitioning from a child going from kindergarten, or sorry, from home into kindergarten.
Yep.
There's all these, or like a loved one that is now working away from home and is not home as often. Like there's so many transitions that we're in,
Exactly.
and those are where you from, like, what I love about you is you always remind me to, like, look at the blessing, to find the gratitude in those. And it's, I find, like, when people use the word what's the gift, it's such a sensitive topic. Like people are like, well, how can you say cancer is a gift? Right?
Mm.
And it's like, if we're looking at it from this perspective, but if we look at it in the present moment
Mm-hmm.
and what the whole experience is allowing our body to experience, there are moments of blessings in that. And maybe there's
Mm.
sometimes unseen blessings that we don't see until after the fact, you know?
True. Oh my God. You have no idea. You
Yeah.
read my mind.
Mm.
Yeah. I have felt this. I called it a heartache, but I have never experienced this before in my life,
Yeah. Yeah. It
ever.
is. It is like a heartache. It is. It literally feels like the heart is cracking.
That's what it felt like. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I've never felt this. And I know it's gratitude, but I'm like, gratitude for what?
What?
And then here comes the tears.
Yeah. Truth
And
tears.
just, I loved what you said. My heart feels bigger.
Yeah. It cracked open. And what happens when we go through those aspects is, like, when that heart cracks open, you actually, like, it floods in, like everything that you were just experiencing of kind of like the hurt in the heart. It was like now everything gets to flow through, and you get to receive all those, let's say, gifts, or all those blessings, or all those teachings, or all those cries, or all those,
Mhm.
like, there's no right or wrong. And we so easily classify things as good and bad, but they're all experiences, and that's what your heart is feeling. That's why it
Yeah,
cracks open, because it gets to feel everything, not just
it
what the mind
does.
says.
Well, yeah, let's touch on
Yeah,
this just briefly.
sure.
So with looking for these blessings, that's you nailed it. Um, the part I have been told it could be considered fawning. You're people pleasing. And then I actually sat with it and went, no,
Mm-hmm.
that no, this feeling of gratitude and blessing was one that I feel in my heart. When I say the word fawning or pleasing, it's something here in my
Yes.
head. They are not the same.
No.
And even I went there. I'm like, okay, am I
Yeah.
doing this?
Hmm.
And bottom line, I started to trust the feelings.
Mm. Hmm.
And I think this is the first time in my life I actually trusted those feelings and honored those feelings.
Yeah.
And I refuse to wear makeup because I'm like, no, I need to feel these feels because I have hidden them from
Hmm.
people my whole life. And
Hmm.
maybe that has been my limit. But now it's open, man.
Yeah. Right. And that's what happens when, and it can like, and not in a scary way, because I don't like using the fear, but it can feel a little scary sometimes when it cracks open and that the blessings are flowing through you, because they're not coming from here. And it's
Not at
just this,
all.
and it does allow you to be more present, and but it's also nice to know that we can engage the mind, because we are human. So now we can reflect if we would like to, and
Right.
we can, and that's where it's always like, what evidence are you gathering? Like,
Yes,
it's like the mind is powerful
it
that way.
is. Cara,
Mhm.
what do you love to do?
I love to have conversations like this. um, I love couple things, two things. One, from my mind, I love philosophical conversations. I
Mm-hmm.
love to dive into the meaning of life. I love sessions that I do because those are all soul guided. They're very expansive. So that's something that I really love to do, is to kind of just allow life to present itself, allow the soul to speak, allow um, truth to be heard, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then another aspect that I love is literally the physicalness of this planet. Like, I love nature.
Yes, you do.
I love Mother Earth, and I love everything about this planet. And so I love my moments when I just get to commune with her and all her inhabitants.
I
And
love
sometimes
that.
that's humans,
Yeah, isn't it? On
right?
that note, I'll be calling you. And then I think you answered it, but bridging what you love into your life and business, and you actually are living
Mhm.
what you love. And there's often, like, I commend you not to, I don't even want to say give up engineering, because you can never give up what you
Mhm.
are. That's part of
Mhm.
you.
Transitioned.
Transitioned. Um, but now
Mhm.
you're doing what you love. I think
Yeah.
that's
And I
beautiful.
think, and when I was in engineering, I was doing what I loved,
Yeah. Isn't it
you know?
true?
Yeah, like I loved it. I loved engineering. And then as I expanded and as my awareness shifted to there's more to life than this, that's when I was able to expand and continue doing more of what I love, following my heart, right? But it's the biggest thing is, don't allow the failures to hold you back from what your heart's desires are. It's like
Mhm.
your mind can convince you not to do things. And I think that's where your courage comes into play. And it's like removing all those conditioned beliefs and then just kind of go into seeing the blessings. And I think that's what helped me leave engineering, actually, was feeling that inspiration and that excitement, and that it's like, I want to do this. I want to make this difference. So I was finding all these, mm, I guess, blessings within me. Like, it's like, well, Cara, you've done this, like, you love doing this. And, all of these little thoughts that were in my head, but those were all aspects of positivity in a sense, right? Like I
Mhm.
wouldn't, how would I leave engineering if I constantly had thoughts of, you're not going to be good enough. You're not, you can't do this. Like, and anytime it's like, you can't, I've been told, like myself, change it to I can, right? Like change the word I can't to I
Mhm.
can. And then if I still can't feel that I can, then go, well, what can I do? What it like,
Mhm.
there is something I can do. So what can I do? And that's where I start to see the blessings, because then you start to see, oh, I can do this. I can do this.
Yeah.
And then that moves us forward in positive momentum
Yeah.
to help us um kind of see life from a opportunity perspective.
Bingo. The possibilities. I like to
Mm-hmm.
say that. It's interesting. Prior, I'm going to say a few years ago, I was very much in the rinse and repeat mode of judgment and comparison. And I was always happy,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to say edited.
Yeah.
I was a
Yeah.
very edited version of who I am. And with my billet kids, what I thank them for is it was the first time in my life I got to be unedited.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I was like, I have never experienced this before.
Which
So,
is the blessing,
isn't it?
right? But
Mhm.
again, we could have also gathered, like you could have gathered all the evidence of why you weren't good enough.
Exactly. I know.
Oh, I love
Oh,
that you let yourself just kind of, and that is a big thing about editing, right? Like we do it all the time and we don't even realize we're doing it.
right? All the
Mm-hmm.
time. I know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I could talk forever about this. It is such a blessing. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean that sincerely, but I think the world, no, not I think. I'm not judging what's going on in the world. I just feel the more positive gratefulness and blessings we can put out into the world,
Mm-hmm.
the energy will expand in
Yeah.
that positive way. And that is my whole purpose of this.
Yeah. Which is awesome because we haven't really been taught to, we may have been taught to count our blessings, for instance, right? Like, but they were usually external.
Isn't
And
it?
that's okay. That's like that. It's not like that's good too. Like there's a lot of aspects within that, but we weren't taught to see that we're the blessing
Isn't it? I
and that
agree.
all the resources that we need to live our best lives reside within us. We have everything we possibly need to live our best life. And you
I
got to
agree.
experience, an element of that with your billet boys.
I know. Feel very grateful.
Mhm.
Okay, here's the big question for the podcast.
Mhm.
And the last question. What are you the most grateful for today?
Mhm. Right now. I'm going to go with what I'm hearing truthfully is I am grateful to be alive.
I love that.
Mhm.
I am grateful. I am
Mhm.
grateful that I get to experience your friendship.
Yeah, that was right in behind it was friendship.
But I actually was going to start off with, I'm grateful for you. And I heard,
Mhm.
how are you? How am I feeling this? And it
Mhm.
is how I get to experience your friendship.
Mhm.
And that is connecting me to
Mhm.
gratitude.
Yeah, because it's like it's not outside of you. It's like
No,
I am grateful that I get to experience friendship. that I get to experience that. It's like I get to experience what friendship means to me. And I get to
Exactly.
experience it through my version of Sheena. Right?
I cannot thank you enough for this amazing conversation today in gratitude and finding your blessings.
Mm, yeah.
I will be I'm going to have our conversation transcribed and put in our show notes, and I will put your website, all your social media handles. And do you have anything coming up right now that's
Yeah,
available?
currently I have some soul friend gatherings that I do once a month, and those are open for anybody to come to. And we just talk about the current energies, we
Mhm.
talk about, and we connect and we support one another, and we get some guidance to assist us through these times. Because we are in interesting times on this planet. And I also have, with my Heart Wild Adventures, I am feeling some new things coming out, so you can keep your eyes open on that.
Excellent. And you're on the socials, so
Well, I
everyone can
have been off. I've been off for
but that's but
5 weeks.
but Cara, you are
I am
still
there.
on the socials.
Yes, I'm there. I've just kind of like given some
It
time to me.
it
Mhm.
just looks different than it did
Yes,
before.
that's
That's
right.
all.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for your time, and we're going to call it a show. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.